There is a quiet, suffocating terror that lives inside a very specific kind of bank account. It does not belong to the man struggling to pay his electricity bill, nor does it belong to the retail worker checking her balance at the grocery register with her breath held. It belongs to the person who just made their first $1 million. Imagine a man named Arthur. Arthur is 42 years old, an engineer who spent 15 years working 60-hour weeks in a Midwestern industrial town. He wore faded flannel shirts, drove a dented sedan, and lived in a house where the kitchen pipes rattled every time the dishwasher ran. Arthur was a master of a very brutal, very specific discipline he knew how to grind. He sacrificed weekends, skipped family dinners, and poured every spare ounce of his mental energy into perfecting an automated logistics system that his company eventually bought out for a life-changing sum. One Tuesday morning, Arthur woke up, checked his phone, and saw a balance of $3.2 million. The immediate psychological reaction to that kind of shift is not peace. It is a sudden, intoxicating rush of gravity defiance. For 42 years, the laws of financial physics applied to Arthur. Suddenly, they did not seem to. The mechanics that got Arthur to that number were simple, raw aggression, extreme risk tolerance, intense focus, and an absolute refusal to accept his current reality. He won because he was a fighter who refused to stay down. So naturally, Arthur did what every fighter does when they win the championship belt. He kept swinging. He bought a home that required a 5-figure monthly maintenance budget. He invested $500,000 into a friend's high-risk hospitality startup because fortune favors the bold, a phrase he had repeated to himself during his long nights at the engineering firm. He stopped checking the prices of things. Why should he? He was Arthur, the man with the golden hand, the man who cracked the code. Within 36 months, the hospitality startup collapsed. The property taxes on the mansion began to outpace his remaining liquid cash. The logistics system he had built was superseded by a newer technology, meaning his consulting income dried up. Arthur looked at his phone on another Tuesday morning, and the number was $210,000. He was still technically richer than he was 15 years ago, but emotionally and structurally, he was ruined. He was drowning in overhead, paralyzed by shame, and entirely incapable of understanding how the very traits that made him a millionaire had systematically dismantled his wealth. Arthur fell victim to the single most dangerous psychological blind spot in human history: the belief that the skills required to make money are the exact same skills required to keep it. They are not. In fact, they are almost total opposites. Making money requires risk optimism, aggression, and an unshakable belief that your effort will dictate your outcome. Keeping money requires the exact opposite. It requires humility, fear, pessimism, and an acute awareness that much of what you have was given to you by forces outside your control and can be taken away just as quickly. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the massive difference between two distinct psychological states: getting rich and staying rich. When you are trying to get rich, you are playing an offensive game. You have to be willing to skate on thin ice. If you are an entrepreneur, you bet your savings on an unproven idea. If you are an investor, you concentrate your capital into a few high-conviction bets. If you are a career professional, you put your hand up for the high-stress, high-visibility projects that could either get you promoted or get you fired. You look at the world through the lens of potential gain. The human brain adapts beautifully to this state because it is driven by dopamine, the chemical of anticipation, of chasing, of conquering. But the moment the money hits your account, the game changes completely. The chessboard flips. You are no longer the hunter, you are the guardian. Staying rich is a defensive game. It is not about how much you can win, it is about preventing yourself from losing everything. It requires you to look at your pile of wealth and realize that it is fragile. It requires you to accept that a significant portion of your success was likely driven by a chaotic mix of timing, luck, and fleeting market conditions that you cannot replicate on command. This is where the human ego breaks. It is deeply insulting to the human ego to be told that its greatest victory was heavily influenced by luck. If you build a business and sell it for millions, you want to believe it was 100% because of your genius, your late nights, and your superior intellect. You do not want to admit that you happened to launch in a low interest rate environment, or that your competitor happened to face a supply chain crisis the exact month you went to market. Because if you admit that luck played a role in getting you rich, you have to admit a terrifying corollary. If luck gave it to you, luck can take it away. To protect its own pride, the ego ignores this truth. It converts the temporary luck of getting rich into a permanent identity of financial invincibility. This is the exact moment the rot sets in. The successful real estate developer assumes he can master the stock market. The brilliant surgeon assumes she is naturally a brilliant venture capitalist. They carry the aggressive risk-seeking behavior that worked in their narrow field of expertise into areas where they have zero competence, completely oblivious to the fact that they are walking into a minefield with a blindfold on. Consider the historical contrast between two types of people we see in every modern economy: the flash millionaire and the quiet accumulator. The flash millionaire is someone who gained wealth through a concentrated burst of energy. Think of an early employee at a tech company whose stock options exploded, a professional athlete, or a business owner who hit a trendy market wave. They view money as a trophy, a physical proof of their dominance and capability. Because their wealth came fast, their baseline for what is normal shifts instantly. They measure their financial health by their cash flow and their ability to spend. If they make $500,000 a year, they spend $480,000 because in their mind, the machine will never stop producing. The quiet accumulator is often someone completely unremarkable. Think of a mid-level manager at a logistics firm or a small-town dentist. They did not get rich through a massive, spectacular event. They got rich through decades of unglamorous consistency. They saved 20% of their income, bought index funds, drove sensible cars, and stayed in the same modest home even as their net worth crossed 7 figures. Why does the quiet accumulator almost always keep their wealth while the flash millionaire so often loses it? Because the quiet accumulator never had the experience of feeling like a financial god. They never had a moment where they felt they defied the laws of economic gravity. They grew their wealth through humility and patience, which means their identity was never tied to being a high-rolling risk-taker. They do not have an ego-driven need to prove their wealth to the world because their wealth was built on the quiet mastery of their own impulses. The flash millionaire, on the other hand, is trapped in a psychological cage of their own making. To them, slowing down cutting expenses or adopting a conservative investment strategy feels like a defeat. It feels like admitting they are no longer special. They would rather risk everything to maintain the illusion of their invincibility than accept the quiet, disciplined reality of long-term preservation. This brings us to a fundamental psychological truth about wealth that few people care to admit. Getting rich is an action. Staying rich is a state of mind. If you do not transition from the action of chasing to the state of mind of preserving, the very fire that warmed your house will eventually burn it down. You cannot build a durable financial life on a foundation of pure aggression. Eventually the winter comes. The market turns, interest rates rise, consumer tastes shift, or your personal health takes a hit. If your entire strategy relies on you always being right, always being fast, and always winning, you are not wealthy, you are just on a temporary winning streak. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about the times you have had a windfall, a bonus at work, a great tax return, or a profitable flip on a small investment. What was your immediate internal reaction? Did you think about how to lock that money away to buy yourself future freedom, or did you instantly start compiling a list of things you could now afford to buy? That split-second reaction is the battlefield. It is the dividing line between those who use money to build an unbreakable life and those who use money to build a temporary stage for their own ego. If you want to keep what you earn, you have to learn how to kill the version of yourself that got you the money in the first place. You have to step off the battlefield of conquest and enter the sanctuary of preservation. You have to recognize that the golden hand is a mirage and that the only real financial security is the security that survives when your luck finally runs out. To enter that sanctuary of preservation, you must first confront a monster that lives inside the mind of every successful professional, the illusion of the linear trajectory. When you spend years climbing a corporate ladder, scaling a medical practice, or building a freelance client base, your brain becomes conditioned to expect that tomorrow will look exactly like today, only slightly more lucrative. If your income climbed from $80,000 to $150,000 and then jumped to $300,000, your subconscious creates a mental chart where that line continues sharply upward forever. You begin to treat a temporary peak in your earning power as if it were a permanent plateau. This is the psychological trap that caught Sarah, a 45-year-old corporate attorney specializing in mergers and acquisitions. For decades, Sarah was the undisputed star of her firm. She billable-houred her life away, sacrificing her weekends, her friendships, and her physical health to secure her partnership. When she finally made partner, her income surged past $750,000 a year. Sarah's financial behavior adjusted immediately to her new reality. She didn't just buy a nicer car, she leased a pair of high-end European SUVs that required $3,000 a month in combined payments. She enrolled her 3 children in an elite private academy with a tuition bill that rivaled Ivy League universities. She purchased a sprawling suburban estate with a pool, a guest house, and a manicured lawn that required a small army of contractors to maintain. Sarah convinced herself that this wasn't reckless spending, it was simply the appropriate lifestyle for a woman of her stature. She believed she had earned the right to relax her guard. Then, the macroeconomic climate shifted. A wave of high interest rates slowed corporate mergers to a crawl. The firm's revenue plummeted, and within 18 months, Sarah's draw as a partner was cut by 60%. Objectively, Sarah was still making $300,000 a year, an amount that puts her in the top single-digit percentage of global earners. But subjectively, Sarah was in a state of absolute financial freefall. Her fixed monthly overhead, the mortgages, the tuitions, the leases, the country club memberships amounted to $22,000 a month. Her new take-home pay barely covered the baseline costs of her existence. She was working just as hard, carrying even more stress, but she was actively losing ground every single month. Sarah's crisis wasn't caused by a lack of intelligence, nor was it caused by a lack of work ethic. It was caused by her inability to separate income from wealth. Income is what you make today. It is a stream of water that depends on your ongoing labor, your health, your relevance, and the unpredictable whims of the market. Wealth is what you save. It is the reservoir of water you build up to sustain you when the stream inevitably dries up or changes course. When people first taste financial success, they almost always use their income to purchase objects and experiences that signal status to the outside world. They look at a high income as a license to consume. But consumption is the literal destruction of capital. Every dollar you spend on a luxury asset that depreciates is a dollar that can no longer work for you, shield you from volatility, or buy you options in the future. The real danger of lifestyle inflation isn't just that it consumes your current cash, it's that it cements your dependencies. When your cost of living expands to match your peak earnings, you lose your structural flexibility. You can no longer afford to take a lower-paying but more fulfilling job. You can no longer afford to walk away from a toxic boss. You can no longer afford to take 6 months off to recover from burnout or pivot your career. You have traded your autonomy for a collection of high-maintenance possessions, effectively turning your wealth-generating engine into a cage. To avoid this, you have to develop what can only be described as a healthy financial paranoia. The durability of your wealth is determined entirely by how much you respect the role of randomness in your success. If you look around the economy, the individuals who maintain their wealth over multiple decades are rarely the ones who made the most spectacular bets or captured the most headlines. They are the ones who engineered their lives to survive the worst-case scenario. They look at their current prosperity not as a proof of their ultimate correctness, but as a window of opportunity to build a fortress that no economic storm can breach. They understand a concept that behavioral economists call the survival mindset. This mindset is built on a single, sobering realization. Everything you currently enjoy can be disrupted by factors you cannot see coming. It recognizes that market crashes happen. Whole industries become obsolete overnight. Personal health can fail without warning, and family dynamics can change in an instant. When you adopt this perspective, your relationship with money undergoes a massive transformation. You stop viewing a large cash balance as an idle asset that is losing value to inflation, and you start viewing it as an insurance policy against the unpredictable nature of reality. You stop looking at a modest, debt-free lifestyle as a sign of missing out, and you start seeing it for what it truly is, the ultimate form of leverage. Think about the sheer psychological freedom of knowing that if your primary source of income vanished tomorrow, your family could maintain their standard of living for 3, 4, or 5 years without changing a single habit. That level of security cannot be bought with a luxury vehicle or a vacation home. It can only be bought with humility. by consciously choosing to keep your expenses significantly below your means, regardless of how much money is flowing into your accounts. The hard truth is that the world does not care how hard you work to get rich. The market feels no obligation to sustain your lifestyle just because you sacrificed your youth to build it. The moment you assume you are entitled to permanent financial safety is the exact moment you expose your flank to the next crisis. Keeping your wealth requires you to wake up every single day with the quiet understanding that you are only one series of arrogant decisions away from starting over at the bottom. And starting over at the bottom is a psychological trauma from which very few people ever truly recover, precisely because the descent is entirely driven by a flaw in their own mental wiring, the inability to know when to stop moving the goalposts. Consider a baseline reality of human nature. When you're earning $50,000 a year, you look at someone making $100,000 and think, if I could just reach that number, I would be completely content. My stress would vanish. But when you finally hit $100,000, a strange chemical shift occurs in your brain. You don't look back at your old self with gratitude. Instead, your eyes lock on to the person making $250,000. The goalposts shift automatically, effortlessly, without your conscious permission. This internal mechanism is called hedonic adaptation. And while it is useful for keeping human beings motivated to survive in primitive environments, it is an absolute death sentence for long-term wealth preservation. Let's look at a family that represents the exact center of this psychological battlefield: David and Elena. David is a mid-level vice president at a regional logistics company. Elena is a senior project director in healthcare administration. Together, their household income sits at a highly comfortable $410,000 a year. By any rational economic metric, they are wealthy. They have surpassed the wildest dreams of their working-class parents. Yet if you sat at their kitchen table late on a Sunday night, you would find two deeply exhausted, anxious individuals staring at a spreadsheet that refuses to balance. Their problem isn't that they don't make enough, it's that their social circle keeps expanding into more expensive zip codes. When they moved into an upscale neighborhood, their baseline for what is normal changed. A normal vacation was no longer a road trip to a state park. It became a $12,000 all-inclusive resort stay in the Caribbean because that's where the other executives on their street took their kids. A normal car was no longer a reliable Japanese sedan. It became a luxury electric SUV because the school drop-off lane looked like an international auto show. David and Elena are trapped in an endless, unwinnable race of relative comparison. They're burning through their massive cash flow not because they genuinely enjoy these luxury items, but because they are terrified of looking like they are falling behind. They are sacrificing their financial freedom to buy the appearance of financial success. Social comparison is a game with no ceiling. No matter how much you make, there will always be someone making more, living larger and spending more egregiously. If you tie your financial satisfaction to how you measure up against your peers, you are handing the keys to your financial fortress to complete strangers. The individuals who actually keep their wealth understand a profound secret. The most valuable thing money can buy is not a bigger house, a faster car, or a watch that screams status. The most valuable asset money can buy is control over your time. When you have a substantial cushion of saved wealth that isn't tied up in depreciating assets or massive fixed overhead, you own an invisible superpower. You own the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. You have the leverage to turn down a promotion that would destroy your family life. You have the runway to leave a toxic corporate environment and spend 6 months figuring out your next move. You have the peace of mind that comes from knowing an unexpected medical diagnosis or an economic downturn is an inconvenience, not a tragedy. But to buy your freedom, you have to be willing to pay a very specific psychological price. You have to be willing to let people think you are less successful than you actually are. This requires an immense amount of ego suppression. It means driving a 4-year-old vehicle into a corporate parking lot filled with brand new luxury leases. It means telling your friends that you're skipping the expensive group trip this year without offering a defensive explanation. It means looking at a massive balance in your investment account and choosing to feel rich quietly rather than proving it loudly to the world. True wealth is what you don't see. It is the cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, the renovations put on hold, and the first-class tickets declined. When you look at a person driving a $100,000 car, the only mathematical fact you know about their finances is that they have $100,000 less than they did before they bought the car, or they have a massive monthly liability that ties them to their desk for the next 5 years. You cannot see their net worth, you cannot see their debt-to-income ratio, and you certainly cannot see their level of anxiety. The illusion that wealth is defined by consumption is what causes people who are incredibly skilled at generating income to systematically hollow out their financial lives. They behave as if money is a scorecard for popularity, completely forgetting that the market is a brutal, unfeeling machine that will happily chew you up and spit you out the moment your relevance fades. If you do not define what enough means for you based on your own values, your expenses will grow alongside your income until your entire life becomes a fragile house of cards, waiting for a single gust of macroeconomic wind to blow it all away. Is exactly what happens when you build your life around the assumption that the future will always reward the bold. If you want to ensure that what got you rich doesn't become the very thing that destroys you, you must install an emotional circuit breaker in your financial life. You have to consciously transition from the hyper-aggressive mindset of acquisition to the deeply conservative mindset of preservation. To make this transformation permanent, you need to adopt a specific mental model that structural engineers use every single day when designing bridges: the room for error. When a bridge is constructed to hold 10 tons of weight, engineers don't build it to withstand exactly 10 tons. They build it to withstand 30 tons because they acknowledge a fundamental truth about reality. They cannot predict the future. They cannot know if a once-in-a-century storm will strike, if a truck will be overloaded, or if the materials will degrade faster than expected. The extra 20 tons of capacity isn't wasted space. It is the only thing keeping the bridge from collapsing when the unpredictable happens. Your financial life requires the exact same engineering. Your room for error is the gap between what you think will happen and what can happen without destroying your security. It is the realization that a good investment strategy can look incredibly boring on paper, because its primary goal isn't to maximize your returns during the boom times, but to ensure you survive the bust times. To build this room for error into your life immediately, there is one specific behavior you need to stop today. Stop matching your fixed baseline expenses to your peak variable income. When you have an exceptionally profitable quarter, receive a massive bonus, or experience a windfall, treat that money as a historical anomaly, not a new standard. Keep your baseline costs, your mortgage, your car payments, your insurance, and your country club memberships, tethered to a modest, easily maintainable number. Simultaneously, there is one critical behavior you need to start immediately. Start assigning a specific, non-negotiable price tag to your autonomy. Every time you are tempted to upgrade your lifestyle simply because your income went up, calculate how many months of freedom that upgrade will cost you. If buying a more expensive vehicle means you must stay in a high-stress corporate role for an extra 3 years to comfortably afford the payments, ask yourself if that machine is truly worth 3 years of your mortal life. The practical, wealth-building action to execute right now is simple but deeply uncomfortable for the ego. Open a completely separate, low-yield, boring security account that you vow never to touch for investments or consumption. This is not an emergency fund for a broken refrigerator. This is your walk-away fund. It is a cash buffer designed solely to ensure that if your primary income stream drops by 50% tomorrow, your lifestyle doesn't change by a single inch for at least 24 months. The return on this money isn't measured in a percentage yield. It is measured in the absolute absence of desperation. True financial maturity is the quiet realization that the world does not owe you a permanent upward trajectory. The skills that get you to the top, the raw aggression, the sleepless nights, the willingness to take outsized risks, are a specialized toolkit for a specific time. But once you arrive, you must put those tools down and pick up the tools of humility, patience, and self-restraint. If you don't, you will spend the rest of your life learning a very painful lesson, that the easiest way to lose everything you have is to behave as if you can never lose anything at all. Before you close this window and return to the noise of your day, look closely at your current lifestyle and ask yourself one brutally honest question. If your primary source of income completely vanished tomorrow morning, how much of your current life Would you be forced to sell off just to survive the next year? If that thought makes your chest tighten, you haven't built wealth yet. You've just built a very expensive cage. We talk about these internal shifts every week because wealth creation is never just a math problem. It is a mirror reflecting who you are when nobody is watching. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden psychology behind your decisions, your habits, and the forces that truly shape your freedom, hit the subscribe button and join the BookZeal community. This is a space where we step away from the surface-level hype and do the hard, quiet work of understanding human behavior. Take a look at your baseline numbers tonight. Figure out where your ego is overcharging you and start building a fortress that doesn't depend on your luck lasting forever.